Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2015 annual meeting at Belfair. In addition to announcing the 3 new board members, it's an opportunity for management to share the results of this past year and their plans for 2016. The Q&A portion of this meeting will be held immediately after the operational and financial update, so I would ask if you would hold your questions until that time. And as always, today's meeting is being recorded by none other than Kelsey Davis, and the video will actually be on the website early next week, as well as copies of the presentation. As we've done in the past, I would ask that we take a moment to remember those members who have passed since last year's annual meeting. I was reminded earlier this week, as many of us were, when I attended the celebration of life for Peter Gunderman, about how special and caring our community is. And it's my hope that our new members have realized that as well, and I'm sure they have. And on that note, please join me in welcoming 49 new members. It's not 49 new memberships, but 49 new members. And if you are here today, if you don't mind, just please stand. Thank you, and we're so glad you chose Belfair. Before we move into the business portion of today's meeting, Jeff Stack, Chair of the Belfair 1811 Charitable Fund, would like to give us a brief update on the fund at this point. Jeff?
Thank you, Karen. Thank you all very much. It's a pleasure to be here to give you a year-end summary for the Belfair 1811 Charitable Fund and a quick snapshot of some of the events that we have planned for next year. Before I start, I would be remiss if I did not mention the members of our committee. We started with nothing, so these committee members have really put this fund together, have built the administrative side of it, and have done the planning for the events. And I'd just like to read their names, and maybe if you'd give them a round of applause when we're done. Marshall Coleman, Randy Wolf, Barbara Stanetsky, Tom Yoho, Rick Cloyd, Kathleen Stroh, Karen Wessel, Bill Thorpe, and I don't know if Frank Faris is here today. He's just recovering from surgery, but he was our board liaison. So if you'd all give those folks a round of applause, I appreciate it. I'd like to go through the 2015 highlights of the charitable fund. And I'd like to say we're alive and well. We've got $39,920.82 in the bank. $22,000 was netted from our golf tournament, and $12,000 came as a result of donations from a small but very generous group of members. About 10 days ago, I received a phone call from a couple here at the club who offered a $6,000 matching grant. Very simply, if between November 23rd and December 31st, we can raise $6,000, they will match it. This is an opportunity which comes along only once in a lifetime, and we really need to take advantage of it. As a community, I am asking you to consider a nominal donation of $50 per membership. This is not going to make a difference in your life, but I can guarantee you that the multiplying effect of this small gift will make a significant difference in the lives of many of our less fortunate neighbors. So please, if you get a chance, write a check, go online, make a donation using your credit card, and let's make sure that we exceed this $6,000 benchmark. We've been able to maintain our administrative expenses at really, they're almost at zero. We pay Community Foundation of Low Country 1.75% to administer our funds, And thanks to Kelsey Davis right there in the front, who has produced all of our promotional material in-house. We really have not spent any money to promote our events. In 2016, we have 5 events and 1 project ongoing for the year. January, we're going to have a dinner at Truffles. On February 21st, we're going to have the first annual Belfair Chili Cook-Off. So get your friends, form a team, bring your best chili recipes, and let's see who can cook the best chili on the campus. On April 12th, we have an event for the ladies called Pearls, High Heels, and High Tea, which will be centered around the 2016 Mahjong group. On April 15th, we're going to present the grant awards, and this will be an opportunity for all of us to come back into this room, meet the charities who have been given grants, and to learn and understand what they do in the community, as well as what they're doing with our grant. And then on September 27th, we have our 2nd annual golf tournament. As I said, it was a tremendous success this year, and we expect it to be even more so next year. Our ongoing project for the year is a new version of the Belfair Cookbook. We are working on that right now. We'll be taking orders for it in the spring, in April, and the book will be available for delivery in September or October of next year. We have continued to promote the Kroger Rewards program. We currently have 81 members subscribed. We've received only $282 from this. We should have more members. We should have 200 of us signed up for this. So I'd encourage all of you to go home, get on your desktop, go to the charitable fund portion of the website. It will electronically link you to Kroger, and you can sign up. If you have any problems, give me a call. We'll send someone from the committee over, and we will make sure that you get signed up. Lastly, we have developed a grant timeline, and as I mentioned, we will be making grant awards on the 15th of April. I just wanted to bring up 3 things related to this. First of all, if you're involved in any charity that's local, large or small, that is supporting people in need, please, number 1, make them aware that the grant application process is still open. Grants can be filed electronically online using the Belfair website. And number 3, that the grant process closes on December 31st of this year. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your generosity. Have a great holiday season, and remember to give where you live.
Thank you, Jeff. And for those of you who get the Island packet, you might have seen the supplement that was included in this morning's edition. There was a supplement on the Community Foundation of the Low Country and a very nice article on the Belfair Charitable Fund. So it was timely and it was very well done. Well, 2015 was anything but typical. It certainly was not business as usual. Looking back on this year, Rick stepped up as our interim GM, and I'd like to thank, for my last time, Rick and his entire management team for everything they did in 2015. I guess you can delete my email address now. So looking back on 2015 again, anything but typical. We celebrated our 20th anniversary, We Belfair, with a weekend full of events, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We established, of course, as Jeff mentioned, the Belfair Charitable Fund. We launched 2 member surveys, not 1, not none, but 2 member surveys, which is usually done every 3 to 4 years, resulting in a 64% response rate, well above the industry norm. We developed a framework for the strategic plan, and again, that is usually done every 3 to 5 years. Ken and his team brought our courses up to some of the best conditions we members have experienced in years. We as a board approved the renovation and expansion plans for our Learning Center. We as a board approved a governance policy, a new governance policy. And last but not least, in this atypical year, we hired David Dew as our General Manager, Chief Operating Officer. Belfair is in a pivotal position to move forward in achieving its mission, which is to be the most desirable private residential community in the Low Country. It is my pleasure to turn this meeting over to David Dew, who will review today's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Renshaw. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be here today and to be in front of you. All of you have made me feel so welcome, and it has been a privilege just to have the moments that I've spent with each of you, the time that we've enjoyed together. Just in 2.5 short weeks, I've already gotten to know so many of you. But really what I want to say first is how much I appreciate and sincerely thank Mrs. Renshaw over the last several weeks and even over the last little more than a month. We have spent an incredible amount of time together. She has dedicated so many hours to my onboarding process through calls, via email, as well as face-to-face meetings. I just want to make everyone aware of the incredible amount of time and how special she's made me feel. So thank you, Mrs. Renshaw. Marla White, my executive assistant, and I were talking just earlier today, and Marla only precedes me in her time here by a little over a month. So both of us are very fortunate to have had Ms. Renshaw instruct us and help us understand the culture of Belfair as we are coming on board. And I've already fallen in love with this place. I've already fallen in love with you as a membership, so I do look forward to getting to know you. You also have a very special staff. As you gave a standing ovation to Rick Lightman, I truly appreciate the help that he's provided. Since the day I was hired, Rick has been on the phone with me. He has been on email with me. I've visited several times and spent many, many hours in the office with Rick. And I'm just enjoying getting to know Rick, and he's an incredible resource, and I'm very fortunate that he's here to help guide me and direct me as I come to know all of you at Belfair. So thank you, Rick, for all that you've done to help me personally. As we move through today's process, there are several things that we certainly want to talk about and discuss. And in terms of the agenda, well, let me talk about just sort of my short-term goals and what I hope to accomplish in the coming weeks and in the next few months here. First of all, what I've talked with all the staff about and what I've said to everyone since the moment I came in, one of the first priorities I have for our staff and for everyone who is employed here at Belfair is just having an attention to detail in every area. You've complimented Ken Lee for what's been accomplished on the golf course, and I believe you have a wonderful staff, and we're making great strides in that regard. But as we move forward, that is my first focus for the staff, just to be attentive to every detail that you as a member experience. And that's something that all of you will come to see over the coming weeks and months, that our staff is going to have an increased attention to detail. Enhancing membership value. Membership has its privileges, and membership is certainly important. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can as we evaluate all of our offerings, all of our planning. Everything that we do is in an effort to increase the membership value that you receive for those dollars that you pay each year in terms of POA dues and club membership. We want you to have a great perception of value for those dollars that you spend here. So it's our staff's mission to increase that value over the coming weeks and months. For me personally, I'm learning a lot. I've been here just a little over 2.5 weeks, and during that time I've been observing, I've been listening, I've had my ear to the ground, just really trying to understand the culture of Belfair and the expectations of the membership. And then I will also, as we move forward, be benchmarking that information against what others are doing. Because as Mrs. Renshaw said, it is my goal to make Belfair the best in the Low Country, and that's where we will be. That's where we're headed. And so as we do that, there's a process of observing, of listening, of benchmarking, of trying some new things, and then going back, observing and listening and benchmarking. It's a continual process that we will be focusing on over the coming weeks and months. so that we're strategically positioning ourselves for the future, so that it's a desirable place for you. We've increased the membership value for you, but also positioning ourselves in the marketplace so that we're strategically positioned for the future, so that those newcomers to Belfair, just like all of those new members, the folks that stood up here, we want to position ourselves for the future of Belfair as well. As we move through the meeting, we're going to talk about some of the accomplishments this year. So first, I'm going to invite James Swift to come up to talk about golf operations.
Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? Great. Fantastic. Pretty day out there, right? I promised that for the remainder of the year. It's a big promise. Well, first and foremost, 2015 was a fantastic year. I think this year we saw the biggest increase in tournament participation that I've had in my 4 years here. Yeah, it has been 4 years, believe it or not, 4 years. I want to thank Ken Lee for all that he's done. I think his work on the golf courses, his effort, his tireless effort to make them the best that it can be is a big reason we had that success. So thank you to Ken. Let's see what happened this year. So again, we always go through this, an annual review of golf activity. Belfair, I think as of yesterday, we're just over 50,000 rounds, projecting 53,000. We called our two neighboring clubs, Colleton River was in the city around about 34,000. Berkeley Hall was at 31,000. So as you can see, we're as robust as you can get as far as a golf program. And again, we're still making sure that golf is the central point here at Belfair. But again, we have so much going on and so many great things going on. To continue that, we look at the Member Pro this year from 27 to 36 teams. We actually had 72 players. We only had one round because it was 15 degrees and everything was frozen solid. But we made a best effort at it, and actually yours truly finished in the top 10, which is big, really big. Member this year remained steady. We went down 2 players, but again, at one point we had 300 participants at one point. Again, we always have some attrition. You know, everybody has things that come up and things that come in the way. So again, a wonderful event. As we go forward into 2016, we'll continue to have that rain date. Again, I learned a very important lesson this year. Don't send 200 members out in the rain. It's not good. So we'll still continue to have that nice rain date to make sure we have a cushion in case we have some bad weather. But again, a great showing this year. Ladies member guest was down this year a little bit to 72 players scheduling, so we make sure we made some changes this year, and I think we'll fix that. Father-son this year was amazing. We had 210 people signed up for that event. A week prior to that, we ended up with 176. But again, this is a very great event. A lot of family involved, and it really had a great weather and a great end to the event. So something we're going to continue on for the future. Our big surprise this year was 132 participants and a member guest. And again, Ken, you're a big part of that. The golf course was fabulous and perfect conditions. We heard that a lot because the greens were just way too fast. So the guys had a good time out there, but again, at the end of the day, a great event again. Couples member guests kind of stayed slightly down to 100 players, but again, a great showing for the year as far as our events. That's better, okay. Upcoming events, we have a full tournament calendar again. Our Member Pro was showcased in February. Our ladies member guests will be that week in April. Men's and ladies member, again, back on the same weekend. Super Seniors and Club Championship, 2 separate events again this year after some great feedback last year, May 14th and 15th. We do have back-to-back events to make sure we can get into the best parts of the year. This year, Easter kind of falls a little late in March, so it's hard to schedule. So again, we'll have the Couples Championship in May as well. We go into September for the Senior Club Championship. Our Father-Son is earlier next year, the 13th through the 15th, and our Gentlemen's Member Guests will be later, the 27th and 29th. We'll finish off the year next year in November with the couples. A couple things to say thank you for this year as far as the golf operation. I want to say thank you to my golf committee and to our chair, Bob Castellucci, for all their work this year. Without their help, we couldn't have gotten through it, and we couldn't have done some good things this year. But again, with their tireless work and my efforts, our idea is, again, to improve the member golf experience. This is our focal point for 2016, and something we really want to look on trying to create, again, as Mr. Dew said, being the best of the low country. And I think it's a great slogan we'll stick to for the remainder of the year. One of those things, again, is improving tee times. Again, we've made some strides, we've made some changes that have made an effect and a positive one. So we'll continue to see what is best for the membership, what works best for everybody, and make sure we have as much availability as we can. We'll continue to enhance the club tournaments and programs, giving you more value. Make sure that you enjoy those events, feel like you're getting your good value out of that, and again, make them fair and equitable as well. We want to certainly continue to improve every current standard of service in every area, from the bag drop to the starters to the golf shop. We want to make sure you're feeling like every year we're trying to do more and more for the membership. We want to focus on a better golf course care and stewardship. This is something that came up recently as our golf courses go into dormancy. We want to make sure that we create a membership that are good stewards, that understand that their job is as important as our maintenance team to make sure the golf course stays in great condition. So we're going to certainly try to focus on that this year with the Canamize efforts. Late this year, we had some pace of play issues. Certainly want to make sure I'm upfront and honest with that. This year, in 2016, we're going to work to make sure we get that pace of play consistent, get that pace of play where it should be, and make sure that everybody enjoys themselves out there. Again, want to make sure you guys understand that this is your golf course. But again, one slow group can ruin it for everybody. So we're going to work to the effort to make sure everything's very consistent out there. And then also, some of the things we covered in the golf committee is also implement a new member golf orientation process. Get those new members oriented into the club's culture quicker, faster, so they can enjoy it faster. Golf shop's another focus this year. Thing I've been trying to do for a long time, and I think we have an answer, is finally online shopping. Did you know you guys buy a lot between 5 and 10 at night? I don't know why. 25% of online purchases are basically done for that, actually 25% more. So it's something we're going to focus on. Something that has a portal where you can go on. If you want that Peter Millar shirt you've always wanted, you can grab it. So that's something we're going to see hopefully here in the fall of this year, next year. I think it's time for another merchandise survey. Again, always keeping the pulse on the membership to make sure we're getting what you want, when you want it, how you want it, and what color you want it. So again, we're going to start to collect data here shortly at the first of the year and try to make sure we make a streamlined purchasing ideas for both the spring and the fall. So something to look forward to here soon. Our expo this year was very well, although I think that wine sales were a little heavier this year. It's good for food and beverage, right? But again, our idea is to make sure we have fun-filled events for the membership to go ahead and attend. And I think our vendors are getting more excited than we are about it, actually, after this year. So you can hope to see more of that here in the coming future. Again, an organizational objective for me is increasing inventory turn, make sure we sell more, get more out, and have less left over at the end of the year. Our Learning Center, again, continues to be incredibly busy and making great strides and making your game better and you're playing longer. That's the whole idea. So, staffing model this year, again, the model continues to be successful with multiple teaching professionals. I can't thank enough for Jason, Wallace, Carl, and Megan's efforts this year. It's been fantastic. But to give you an idea of what kind of impact they've had, we've raised lessons from 996 in 2012 to over 1,900 lessons. That means that we're teaching a lot of you guys a lot of things. Hopefully you're getting better. Management and support staff has become essential. Again, as busy as it has, to make sure to keep track of lessons, keep track of clubs, keep track of all the things, and managing the facility have become essential. And again, we continue to educate that staff. I know you've seen some new faces and new names down there. We're hoping to make sure we make them better golf professionals, and again, make sure the better customer service for all our members. Again, we continue to make sure we integrate between fitness. Again, make sure you're healthier golfers, not just better golfers, so you can play longer and enjoy the game longer. Some of the things we covered this year, again, we do have that Learning Center expansion. We're moving forward with that. Again, we've talked a little bit about Swing Catalyst. It's a great new software thing. The greatest thing about this, if you don't think you're shifting your weight, you'll know you're shifting your weight. If you need a lesson and you're in Arizona, we can give you a lesson right there in Arizona. All done through your smartphone, all done very conveniently. And again, a great connection and follow-up method for our new teaching staff. We are also going to try to invest in better putting and short game instruction, and better club fitting and short game instruction, so better putter fitting, better wedge fittings, things like that, so you can always better your bag and make sure that your arsenal is fully armed for your friends. And again, also we want to enhance every amenities. We're looking at do some new things with the short game area, stepping off some yardage. You can make your practice experience better, improved, and again, it can help you more in the future. So expect some changes here in the near future. Demo clubs. Everybody loves demo clubs. I love that. It's great. I wonder where they go sometimes, but they sometimes always find a way home. We're going to do a better job this year. Ladies, especially for you, again, we're finding that every lady that comes to one of our open demo days doesn't find exactly what they want, so we're going to work on trying to find that perfect club for you. So we're going to focus on a better assortment, certainly focus on ladies' equipment as well, but top vendors. We're really going to kind of go back where the marketing is, getting you the best quality equipment that you can get at all times. So again, expect that. We're also going to kind of tandem our TrackMan as well as our swing catalyst in that club fitting, so you can see some new things for the coming year. Again, we keep telling you about these trips. You know, we've had great success with the trip schedule, and I think we're going to try to think a little more outside the box going forward. It doesn't mean we're still going to be playing golf, I promise. But our Casa de Campo trip has got a nice showing. I think we're going to head out in January here shortly. Our trip to Kiawah, which will be in February, we're working with, negotiating with some dates right now, so you'll see that smaller trip up to the Kiawah area to play the ocean course as well as some of the other courses there. It's very popular. Ladies, I didn't forget about you. What happened was we announced the trip, nobody signed up, so I canceled it, sorry. But we did reschedule for February, so make sure you mark that new date. I'll have those dates out here very soon. We're negotiating with Hammock Beach Resort to make sure our ladies golf trip can continue for the future. And again, we're also going to try to make sure we get out of the summer heat, maybe head to Michigan, and see if we can go out to Acadia Bluffs and a couple other things. So Jonathan and myself are working on a great trip for you here in the near future. One of the good things I can tell you about our trip program is that not only do we fill our Ireland trip, I have 4 more players. So again, I have a large trip. So just let you know that's full, but gives you an idea of how successful these trip programs are and how we're going to continue for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for 4 great years here at Belfair. We're looking for a great year in 2016, and I'm going to hand it over to my good friend, Ken Lake.
Just want to start by saying thanks to James Swift and his staff. He's a huge part of a lot of things we've been able to accomplish this year. You know, I go into his office a lot and I say words like close the course and gap mow, and you know, he never once says no, so thank you, James. Yeah, I'm really excited about 2015. We've had a really good year. Golf courses continue to improve, and they're just going to keep getting better. And I think every day we get closer and closer of realizing the true potential of these beautiful Fazio design golf courses we have out there. Our goal is to create golf courses that are agronomically, environmentally, and economically sustainable. If it doesn't fit that model, we try not to do it. First off, I want to thank our 2015 Green and Grounds Committee, particularly Mr. Mike Sanders, who did a tremendous amount of work this year and has been a huge part of our success. At our first town hall meeting early in the year, I referred to these 7 gentlemen as my Slab 7, because they have laid the foundation for how this committee should operate with appropriate and timely advice and feedback, making your golf experience what it is today. So thank you to all of them, and there's, yeah, no doubt. Some really good key initiatives have come out of this group, from the Tree Advisory Committee to the Ambassador group and the Standards Revision group. I can't thank these gentlemen enough for all their hard work. Second, I'd like to thank our staff, our golf maintenance staff. I'm very proud of what they've been able to accomplish this year, and everybody knows when I came in here 2.5 years ago, one of my goals, top priorities, were to hire, train, and retain, and try to change the work culture. And part of that, and being able to do that, I think was an important part of that, was to reduce our temporary staffing service employees. When I first got here, most of the staff, the line staff, were part of a temporary local staffing service. So in 2014, we only had 18 full-time Belfair staff. Well, this year we've been able to increase that to 25. So we've been able to hire our own Belfair employees and replace the temporary staffing workers, which I think is a huge part of our success. Greens are always my #1 priority. We always start by talking about greens. Our 2015 objective was to improve consistency, fast, firm, and true. I guess I heard about some 4 putts the other night at Green Committee. Maybe a little bit too fast, but consistent this year. I think we saw some consistency and words outside the gate that, you know, hey, Belfair's got some really good greens. So that was important to me. Very significant reduction in winter thinning, which has been a problem here at Belfair. You know, we had to do little to no sodding on the surfaces, which had kind of occurred year after year after year. And what we did a lot of was a lot of plugging, which has added to the success of these surfaces. And the Nursery Revitalization Program, which I'm sure you're all aware of on 5 West, is a huge part of that program moving forward, allowing us to make proper repairs to a green. Sodding a green, as you guys have all seen, is not an option. Plugging a green is the way you repair a green. So having that nursery out there at 5 West is a huge part of making these greens continue to get better. 2016, we're going to have to continue the remediation program. Our infiltration rates are still a bit of a concern. We're not seeing that water move through that profile. Everybody keeps saying, boy, these greens are great, they look great, I can't believe they're still sick, but they're still kind of not where I want them. We've successfully reduced the amount of organic material and fines kind of in that top 2 inches that was kind of holding everything up and causing these greens to turn that algae black, but they're still not, I think, where we want them. So we're going to continue that remediation program through 2016, and I think you're going to see these greens get even better. This winter, just like we did last year, we're going to take a very cautious approach to winter management. If forecasted temperatures are predicted to be below freezing, we're going to close the golf course and we're going to cover them. We're going to keep them covered until the air temperature is warm enough to where we feel it's safe to get back on the greens again. Surrounds, TIF-Grand. I know there's a lot of people in this room going, oh, TIF-Grand, this guy, enough of the TIF-Grand. TIF-Grand, once again, improved density, color, definition, and firmness. Very little winter collar damage last year on the West Course. Little to none. In the nursery revitalization program, once again, we have a good amount of TIF-Grand out there as well. So when we do have to make a repair to these collars, it will be done with plugs, and it will be done with sod that's the exact same height, which will help make a neater repair, and will heal in and blend in quicker. One thing that we learned about this grass this year, it has delayed dormancy. It doesn't go dormant as early as the rest of the warm season grasses, and it greened up quicker. So this turf is a good turf for Belfair because it performs best in the spring and fall when we have most of our tournaments. So that's another good thing about this grass. East Course surrounds were done this year. They will improve dramatically with some continued sand applications and vertical mowing. I'm sure you've noticed kind of a stringy appearance on the collars. You have to keep in mind that those collars are only, 4 or 5 months old right now. They're still very young. We had some rainy weather in August where we missed some key vertical mowing applications that really kind of contributed to that, and that will all go away. And the west surrounds are going to keep it getting even better too. I kind of felt like at the end of this year we just got over that hump where you can't see the sod seams anymore, and we just started to get smooth. Now next year when we keep adding that sand and we keep verticutting and top dressing, you're going to see those surrounds get more firm and more fast, and that is a real key component with these Fazio golf course designs. Fairways, West Course fairways, we had some defeats this winter. Starting out, we had a real late freeze in mid-February, but we quickly rebounded from that winter thinning. It was March. We talked about it a little bit in the town hall meeting in here, and by mid-April to end of April, it had all gone away. We also had some weed control challenges on our pass fail on fairways last year. Changed the program, wasn't happy with what I saw in 2014. Changed it in 2015, and I failed miserably. So I've taken that program, I've thrown it out the window, and we've rewrote it, and I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing so far. I'm very confident we will see very little to no Poana intrusion like we did last year. Once again, the nursery, thank you for allowing me to put the nursery back in place. It also gives us another closely mown sod source for a limited supply of sea owl at that fairway height. Off-type contamination in the fairways. There is no accepted proven method for removal of the Bermuda grasses that are in those pass fail fairways. However, we have discovered a cocktail of herbicides that we think, that we remain confident, will slowly melt these grasses away over a number of years. East Course fairways, you have that same off-type contamination. You have these consistency challenges, especially in the wintertime. This time of year, when it starts to get colder, it starts to look like a camouflage quilt out there. It's kind of weird. Some of these grasses are very open canopy. They look very thin with a lot of common. Unfortunately, the only solution to this is going to be replacement. I'll be working with your Green and Grounds Committee this year to make a turf selection for the replacement of proposed replacement of the East Course fairways in 2017. Tees, overseeding has been performed on both golf courses, just like the East Course fairways. They're supposed to be Bermuda grass. We have some off-type contamination challenges. As well, here's another real big management challenge from my end. When I sat down and wrote this presentation, I realized that we have 5 different types of grasses on those tees. Imagine if you go out and play golf at your golf course, and we're looking for putting quality, really is what we're looking for. That's my standard. I want to be able to putt on these things. I want these things like the surrounds. You go out to your favorite golf course, you say, hey, what do you have on your greens? Oh, we have 5 different types of grasses. And that's not our standard. I don't think that's what we're looking for. So we're going to be converting those to TIF grant as well in 2016 and 17 East and West in 16 and the East proposed for 2017. Once again, low, firm, dense, putting quality. And this year we started that with converting 4 tees on the East course. A few of the back tees, 1, 4, 11, and 14 have all been converted already to TIF grant. Oops, I skipped over the most important one, bunkers, the B word. We've added a lot of additional staff. If you were here at the last town hall meeting, you heard me talk about the 2-pronged attack. First prong was to add some additional staff for winter maintenance of bunkers. Guys have been out adding more sand, mixing bottoms, checking depths. And I think a lot of the problems have gone away just by putting some additional manpower in. We had a pretty good positive variance in the budget coming into the end of the year, and I went to the board and the Green and Grounds and Finance Committee and I said, man, I want to use this money to make these bunkers better. And they allowed me to do that, and I think that's helped a lot. However, there's some construction inconsistencies and things that I'm not really quite sure about. So before the end of the year, we're going to rebuild the greenside bunkers on 9 East and 7 West, 17 West. Those have kind of been our ubiquitously problem bunkers, the ones I get the most complaints about. So we're going to go ahead and rebuild those bunkers with an improved method. As well, you got to realize all this additional staff, we're putting more time now into our bunkers than we do our greens. And that's just not a sustainable practice. And that just makes no sense when you're dealing with what's supposed to be a hazard. Please remember, when you're out playing golf, break bunkers. Do a good job. Make sure we're pushing the sand up the face and not pulling it back off the face. 2015 projects, once again, we did the TIF grant on the East course, Dunes and Naturalized Sand Area Rejuvenation Project, Phase 1, which has been awesome, and the Nursery Revitalization Project. Thank you for all those projects. I think they all went really well. Learning Center renovation next year. Got some surfaces out there. These surfaces should reflect what you play on. When you go out to practice, you should be able to chip off TIF grant. You should be able to putt on a ultra dwarf green that's firm, fast, and smooth that matches the green surfaces that are on your golf course. So this is a huge project. I'm really looking forward to getting this accomplished next year. 2016 also, we're going to do our next phase of our sand and naturalized, our dunes and naturalized sand area rejuvenation projects. This will include work on holes 1 East, 2 East, 2 West, 5 West, and 14 West. East course will be a lot of what you see here on 4 East, which in my opinion is a game changer for Belfair. That to me is just awesome, that look that we're getting. And I'm really excited about this. And I think that these projects too are really going to enhance that 2-course distinction that we're looking for, with the West being more formal, parkland, and the East being more links-like and seaside. Also in 2016, we're looking to re-grass the tees on the West course with TIF grant, enlarging the par 3s, primarily the metal member and forward tees, and shifting the forward tees on holes 2, 5, and 10. On those holes, the forward tees are a little too far off the center lines, making very difficult shots to the fairway, so those tees will be shifted more to the center line. Here's a picture of 16 West. It's a great example. The member tee is split into 2 smaller tees. When I say we're going to enlarge, that whole middle area will be 1 tee, which will improve the hitting surface of those tees. All par 3s will be enlarged, by the way. 2016 projects, maintenance facility enhancements. This is actually a continuation of a 2015 project. We're addressing some environmental and some workplace safety concerns we have down there at the shop. And we'll be adding some additional storage space, which is important for our long-term goals of preserving, obtaining, and protecting some long-term assets. Equipment that we want to keep for 10 or 15 years needs to be stored inside. We can't continue to have it outside if we want to keep it. Okay, I'm going to talk about a little stewardship. I'm going to ask everyone to go online this weekend and check out a video. It's called How to Repair Ball Marks. And I know that maybe it's not the people in this room. They're probably all out there playing golf right now, so maybe you can tell them about this video, because I know everyone in here repairs their ball marks properly. But what I'm seeing really is we do a pretty good job repairing ball marks at Belfair. But I do see a lot of ball marks that aren't repaired properly. I think when you see that mark that's smooth on the green but the middle's dead, a lot of times that's an improperly repaired ball mark, believe it or not. So get online and watch this video, and they're going to talk a lot about avoiding and prying or lifting the turf, and really it's all about squeezing that grass back together. So rather than me try to sit here and make all sorts of hand gestures, get online and check that out. Adhere to cart rules and signage. Had to come some rainy weather, some wet weather here late in the fall. Cart path only means all four tires on the path. We're getting a lot of rutting through landscape beds and that sort of thing. Pay attention to cart directional arrows. Try to get off ahead of that directional arrow and not behind it. As well, cart rules, if we're a foursome, try to keep it down to 2 carts. Share carts as much as possible. Divot repair. Once again, we went through some rainy weather. We had some cart path only days, and I'm just as guilty as everybody in this room. I always forget my bottle. You get out in the middle of the fairway, you got a wedge in your hand, it's all the way back there. So, let's just make a new rule. You forget your bottle on that hole, go ahead and empty it on the next hole. All right, now fill 2 on the next hole. Fill 2 on the next hole. That'd be good. So. And finally, I just, once again, I want to say, thank you for everyone in this room for all your words of support and encouragement this year. We had a good year, 2015, and I can guarantee you that 2016 is going to be even better. Happy holidays, and go Tigers.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Great, you've just ruined my... Ken gets to talk about algae, Swifty gets to talk about trips to Ireland, and I get this. This is not fair. Because mine never changes. So I'm gonna skip this and just go right into my presentation. Because I have good news. We are going to, we're projecting to outperform budget by about $109,000 this year. I'm going to talk in the next couple of slides about the bullet items that are up there. But the main drivers behind this performance, favorable results of bad debt, administrative payroll savings, golf maintenance savings. Ken mentioned it a little bit in his talk. Unfortunately, with a little less is probably an understatement, less than favorable greens and carts, and our facility maintenance staff did a wonderful job in terms of payroll savings as well as operational expense savings. Food and beverage. Our projections show that we're going to probably fall about $200,000 below in just revenue. And there's 2 items up there. One is banquets and the other is hole-in-one. It's not really the weddings that are causing a huge problem. We fell a little bit short of the weddings, but most of the banquets are unfortunately the ones that we typically see the membership have, anniversary events, birthday parties, those kinds of things. For some reason, they really fell off this year, and it's a huge part of why we're missing our banquet revenue. Hole-in-one. Oh, that was a fun thing to deal with early on this year. We consciously made a decision to change the program this year knowing that it was going to have an impact on us financially. It was a good year to do it. We knew early on that there was a chance that we were going to have some savings up front in terms of payroll, so we kind of bit the bullet. And I think that the program we have in place is one that has been working well ever since we put it in. Unfortunately, it did cost us some money at the bar. We're likely to have about over $40,000 in payroll savings in the food and beverage department. The guys and girls there are probably sick of me talking to them about it, but it's something that we talk about consistently. Food cost is actually projected to be about 2% better than we planned. This is actually, the reason that I put this up here is it contradicts the lack of banquets. Chef has done a really nice job this year in terms of reaching out to different vendors, putting some pressure on some other vendors, and has really helped him in terms of his bottom line. Usually, this is the slide that I hate to talk about. I'm getting less hateful. We had, or we're still expecting, over $111,000 in bad debt recoveries. A recovery is basically when we lien somebody and we eventually get a recovery. This has taught me one thing, and that's patience. There are folks that I have liened a couple of years ago that are now coming back. The members aren't coming back, but they're actually being forced to pay because the process works. The lien works, it just takes time. We have aggressively acquired properties at the tax sale. I know at the last town hall meeting, I talked about that, where I went to the tax sale with Mr. Feinberg, and we aggressively went after properties. We want to gain control over those properties. Instead of having somebody buy them at the tax sale, I wind up liening them, and then the process repeats itself. The takeaway with this is actually the chart. At 2013's year end, we had 728 dues paying members. That fell dramatically at the end of 2014. And we're now starting to see that pick back up. And when I talk about the 2016 budget, you're going to see that improve even a little bit more. So we're taking baby steps and we're making progress. Golf maintenance, we're projecting to be over $50,000 favorable to budget. One of the benefits of having someone like Ken, who takes such incredible care of the courses and does such a great job, is that agronomically it actually helps the chemical expenses because he doesn't need it as much. And he has done an amazing job with the turf quality that has actually helped that expense. They go hand in hand. Ken talked about adding extra labor. He's going to be a little bit unfavorable in labor, but about half of that is due just to the last several months where he is throwing everything in the kitchen sink at those bunkers. And again, that was like Ken said, that was a conscious decision. We're projecting to fall short of greens and cart revenue by a combined $104,000. The chart in the middle doesn't do justice to the explanation. We're starting to see more member play as a percent of the total rounds played. And I've said this before, this is what you expect as a community grows. As a community gets more built out, the people live here more. Unfortunately, as of the end of November, we are about 1,000 rounds short in terms of guest play. So it has an impact. And you're going to see in the 2016 budget, when I talk about that I think what we have in there is just a much more realistic picture. Overall, for 2016, operational dues are going to increase 0.5% to cover the loss of MPO dues. And the cost of sales is going to increase roughly 6%, not due to the cost of the product itself. We're projecting that the food is going to, and beverage is going to come back a bit, and with that comes an increase in costs for the products that are sold. Payroll and benefits are proposed to increase 4%. Obviously, David joining us late in the year. We've also been without a marketing person for much of the year. And we've actually had a lot of administrative staff changes that most people don't know about. So I think that is leading towards most of this. Unfortunately, we are still having a problem with health insurance. It's not the government programs, it's unfortunately the claims that we've had. We've had a rough go again, and we've switched carriers again, and unfortunately our health insurance is going to increase about 10% this year because of that. I started to show this chart last year, and I think that it's really important to keep showing it year after year. This is the dues history, and it's got the capital operating and overall broken out. the capital has a hole in 2010 because there wasn't an increase compared to the prior year because it didn't exist. Overall, operating dues have increased less than 1% per year in the last 7 years. Most of the member dues increase have gone towards capital, and I think that's wonderful. We have good control over the operations, and you want to spend the money in capital. You want to preserve what we have. You want to protect the reserves and build them for the future, just like Ken was talking about earlier about doing future projects. Okay, food and beverage. I'm banking on that 2015 was kind of an anomaly, and that we'll return back to having more banquets for members. We were not overly aggressive with weddings, which is a place that takes a lot of pressure off Millie and Chef, but we still budgeted for quite a few. The food and beverage is something that we talk about, we hear about a lot. Typically in communities, in country clubs, food and beverage is an amenity, and that's no different here. 2015 and 2016, we're going to have roughly a cost to the membership of $700,000. And I think that it's a large number. There's no doubt about that. I think under David's guidance, we're going to work with Chef, we're going to work with Millie, and try to become as efficient as possible. Is that number ever going to reach zero? I don't think so, but we'll try to minimize it as much as possible. In the industry comparison, we are right at the 75th percentile of clubs, just like Belfair. So we're doing better than most of the clubs in the country that are just like us financially from a food and beverage standpoint. That does not mean that we sit back and just say, okay, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the results. We're going to keep looking at them. Okay, here's what I was talking about before. Adding 2016's dues paying members increases from 704 to 708. In probably everybody's mind, they're going, big deal, it's 4. Well, you take 4 times $14,000 a year, it starts to add up. You add a few more the year after, you add a few more the year after, and you start to feel less of an effect. And that is our goal. It takes time, it takes patience, and sometimes I don't have it. And it's incredibly frustrating looking at some of these situations, and you say in the back of your mind, I know this person has the money. Well, you've got to go through a process, and sometimes it's slow. But I think that we're on the upswing with this. I think that we hopefully have hit bottom. Only time will tell, but this is one thing that is going to be, that it will always be on my radar and always be something that I focus on. Golf maintenance, Ken talked about it. The 2 bullets that he had, increasing his staff, utilizing less temporary services, we're going to continue that. We're going to utilize the H-2B visa program, which unfortunately has gotten a little bit more difficult to utilize. But that will add more people that are Ken's staff. There's more buy-in when it's your staff. Other people can just punch in, punch out, and go home. These guys have a vested interest, and that's what we want. So Ken's budget does not have a change from last year's. And that was something that he and I worked on, and we worked on a while together. Okay, here is where greens and carts become, in my opinion, more reasonable. You look at the guest rounds from 2012 to 2013, and they drop off dramatically in 2014 and 2015. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong. This is normal. As a club like ours gets built out, this is what happens. In 2016, we're planning for about 5,600 rounds of golf that are guests, and we think that that is really achievable. Each year, each quarter, I talk about missing greens and cart fees, and it's unfair other than telling Swifty to go put a sign on 278. There's nothing he can do. So I think that what we have is an achievable budget. This just kind of graphically shows what I had just talked about in that chart, and you can see that the member rounds and the total rounds are very close to each other. Completed projects, Ken talked about a lot of them. The East Collars, rejuvenation, the first phase, turf nursery, and unfortunately we've had a lot of stormwater projects as of late. Approved capital projects for 16, Learning Center short game, Learning Center building renovation, T complexes, the second phase of the rejuvenation, and the duck pond. Last but certainly not least, our capital reserves. We are going from about 4.4 million at the end of 14, 3.8 at the end of 15, and to about 3.7 at the end of 2016. And this is all done in concert with the Finance Committee, with the board, our long-term capital plan, our reserves. So this is something that is looked at extremely carefully by all parties. All right, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to David.
Thank you, Rick. Obviously, in that presentation, Rick clearly knows the idiosyncrasies and the nooks and the crannies and all the details of this operation better than anyone I've ever worked with. And I've really enjoyed getting to know this operation through the eyes of Rick over the past few weeks. I also have spent a great deal of time with each one of these individuals listed here as your 2015 board, and I want to thank each one of them. Yesterday, at the end of the day, I added up all of the hours I had spent in meetings in the 2.5 weeks that I've been here. I've spent 49.5 hours in the 2.5 weeks I've been here in meetings. Some with the board collectively, many with the board individually, as well as some of the committees. And obviously I haven't met with all of the committees, but this board has worked diligently, both in onboarding, the onboarding process for me, as well as behind the scenes, to really help position Belfair in a place that it can continue to move forward year after year after year. And I have enjoyed my time working with this board. So thank you very much, board. Certainly behind the scenes as well, there are many committees that have been working throughout the year. The Architectural Review Board, the Finance Committee, the Green and Grounds Committee, Conflict Resolution Committee, Fitness and Sports Committee, as well as the House Committee, which we had to reschedule our House Committee meeting 3 times this week, but thank you for being patient with my schedule, and we are working on a House Committee meeting very soon. Golf Committee, the Strategic Planning Committee, the non-property owners, as well as the tennis. You can see that all of these have very, very specific jobs, and there have been a lot of people involved. And I also want to say thank you to the 2015 special committees. The Belfair 1811 Charitable Fund, as Mr. Stack mentioned earlier, is doing a great work here in this community, as well as the nominating committee this year. Let's give all of our committees a round of applause. As I came on board in this week in preparation for this meeting, I asked all of the staff members to give me their 2015 accomplishments. Obviously, I was not here to observe all of those accomplishments, but I sat down with Rick and I reviewed the year of 2015, and as we began to talk about some of the significant accomplishments, we wanted to talk about the change in staff culture. Obviously, this is an evolution process, and the staff is continuing to grow, but my goal is to continue to make the staff more and more service-minded and empower them to do their job and to service you as a member even better and better. We feel like they've come a long way in 2015, and we're going to continue along that same trajectory. The chef's cooking class was one of the first honors for me as I came on board as a new GM to be able to present those diplomas and stand up here on stage and congratulate everyone, taste the good food that each of you prepared. And so the chef plans to offer another culinary class very, very soon. We're putting that on the calendar, and you'll see information about that coming out very quickly. Not to mention the positive press that you receive from that cooking class and being featured in a national periodical. The 20th anniversary celebration, as Mrs. Renshaw mentioned, was a huge accomplishment. 20 years. The solidity or the fact that this community is here, it's stable, it's financially sound and solvent after 20 years is something to be commended and should not be taken lightly. There are a lot of clubs in this country that would like to be in the position of Belfair. So congratulations on 20 great years. The Belfair 1811 Charitable Fund has already been mentioned, but that was another one of the huge accomplishments. And for me personally, it was very appealing. I come from a very profitable and a very charitable community, and as I was searching for my next job and my next career move, that was something that was very appealing to me, and it's been evidenced by the congeniality and the warmth that you've shared to me. But on the surface, from the outside looking in, knowing that you had a fund such as this was something that attracted me to Belfair. You had the largest father and son golf event on record. That's huge. That's important. And as James continues to develop the programming, we want to make sure that we are doing things that appeal to all golfers of all ages and all brackets and all ranges. And we actually will be doing more and more of that as we move forward. Jason Bell taking over as the Director of Instruction. James showed you the numbers on how much the lessons have increased over the last several years. The change in the Tee Time program is certainly a start to an ongoing evaluation of what we're going to do to make sure that everyone has a fair and reasonable chance to get on the golf course and enjoy these two beautiful courses that Belfair has to offer. And then, of course, as everyone has congratulated Ken Lee for returning the courses to a place of health and beauty for today and sustainability for tomorrow, Ken has done an amazing job, and your staff is to be commended for all of the accomplishments in 2015. As well as collaborative efforts that have proven successful in many regards, where the staff is working together with membership in a variety of ways. Rick brought 3 of these to my attention. One was the paving project, and using 3 Belfair engineers, folks who are skilled in the trade of engineering, to work directly with Rick to solve problems here within the community. Congratulations, the Learning Center project being accomplished, a joint effort between the collaboration of staff and committees working hand in hand. The wisdom of the group prevails with all of the choices and all of the selections that have been made. So congratulations on what has already been planned. I'm excited. We've met for a number of hours just to discuss the Learning Center project on site and with the architect and with potential builders. There are some good things happening there through collaboration, and I intend to do more and more of that as I go through the coming year. Dredging and sinkhole project, obviously this is something that is going to continue to plague us over the coming years. We're going to have to face it head on, and we'll continue to deal with it, but working together, departments working together with members to solve these problems. And this may be the best piece of news of all right here at the bottom of the screen. 20 new homes under construction as we speak right now, and 23 completed this year. So congratulations, Belfair. You are doing a wonderful job. Thank you for what you're doing. I want to reflect for just a minute on what my immediate priorities here as general manager and some of the things I'll be focusing on in the coming few weeks and the next several months. Building relationships with members and staff alike. Obviously that started at a very rapid pace as we move into the future. It's important to me to get to know you, the membership. I need to understand your wants, needs, and desires. I need to understand Belfair as a culture. I've got a great feeling of everything that I've learned so far, but I have so much more to learn, and I don't underestimate that task. As well as getting to know the staff that I've had a chance to interact with. They're very committed to you as a membership. They're very committed here to the future of Belfair. They're very committed to what we're doing, to making everything that we do better and better for your member experience. I've enjoyed getting to know the staff, but once again, there's a lot to be accomplished in a very short period of time. But I plan to understand the culture of Belfair, getting to know the bylaws, getting to know the policies, getting to know the practices. I've been given over a couple of thousand pages to read, and I'll tell you the truth, I haven't read all of those in the last couple of weeks, but I've been given volumes of pages to read. And your board is committed to a new governance model that excites me as you move forward, allowing Belfair to be the best in the Low Country. And as we move forward, there are things that we will continue to address from a best practices perspective. Becoming familiar with operations is obviously a very important part of what I do. Becoming familiar with every aspect of the operations, becoming familiar with these professional managers that have stood in front of you today and given these dynamic presentations. But just understanding, not trying to tell them what to do, but together we can achieve more. We can make more happen. We can improve the value here at Belfair. Analyzing data from the member survey. As Mrs. Renshaw mentioned, you had 2 member surveys. I'll also be doing some small surveys, just some in-house surveys and some focus groups throughout this year, and working toward an overall strategic plan as we put that in place so that every decision we make, we're not backing up, we're not squandering funds, we're not wasting energy, but we're moving forward on a premeditated path for the future. Not that it's rigid, not that it's set in stone, and obviously we'll adjust to market conditions and things that we face throughout the coming years, but we will have a plan as we move forward, and we'll adhere to that plan. Identifying areas for improvement in every way is something that I'll be focusing on. I think there are so many great things about Belfair. But I think one of the greatest opportunities is that it can be more than it is today. It can be even better. And as I've talked with the staff and as I've walked through with the staff, we begin to analyze and to look at just various ways that we can improve the operation. I want to boil these down in very specific categories, and obviously I can't cover all of those things in the brief time we have left, but just in terms of operations, management, and governance, we are looking at best practices. We're reviewing, we're analyzing. I've already been meeting with a couple of your board members and discussing. I've already been exchanging emails. I think when I counted my emails yesterday in preparation for this meeting, I had received about 831 emails in the past 2.5 weeks. Now the bad news for Mrs. Renshaw, as she said earlier, she's going to take she's going to block Rick's address, I think. Most of those emails I've had to ask her questions on and ask Rick questions on. But there's a lot of information to take in, but we're looking at best practices, operational analysis, organization review, understanding how this organization structure works and making sure that it's the most efficient that it can be and it's the most functional that it can be. That's something that I'll be doing over the next 6 months. Improve committee and board effectiveness, working with the board. I told a couple of the committees that I've met with this week that my job is to make your job as a committee member better. My job is to make your job as a committee member easier. My job is to make your experience here at Belfair more enjoyable, and your job is to advise me on what the wants, needs, and desires of the membership really is. I've enjoyed the collaborative experience I've had with the committees that I've met with so far, and I look forward to more of that as we move forward. The communication and collaboration is key. It's pivotal to our success here at Belfair. Clear and transparent communication, communicating with you what we're doing, when we're doing it, why we're doing it, to keep everyone informed as best I can. That's certainly one of my goals as we move forward. I'll also conduct focus groups in terms of involving the staff, in terms of involving membership, as we start to look at our strategic plan and we analyze what it is we want to accomplish over the coming years together. We will have focus groups, and I'll involve various aspects of the membership. I've done this very effectively at my previous club, where members from different cross sections will come together, we'll discuss ideas, we'll collaborate, we'll work together. That's certainly something that we do, and I will involve the staff in that process too. I'll promise you, the person who is working on the line level of the staff knows a lot about what needs to happen or what can happen or how things can happen most efficiently. So I'll involve the department managers that stood before you, but I'll also involve the line level staff as well during this process. Working on our strategic plan over the next 6 months is a big project for me. And Obviously, we'll be evaluating a master facility plan. Work has already begun on that. There's a lot that needs to be done still, but a master facility plan that takes into account, among other things, outdoor dining, fitness center, any other new amenity offerings that may need to exist, and then overall the clubhouse, and moving forward into the future, what the needs of the clubhouse look like in a few years. But most importantly, as we work toward a master plan, as I said before, not replicating, not duplicating, not wasting or squandering any funds, but moving forward on a positive trajectory. I'll also be working on a marketing plan, an official marketing plan. As Rick mentioned, you've been some time without a person who is concentrating on marketing. I personally believe that it starts internally, just with a person here to help with programming, and starting here internally to make sure that the membership value is what it needs to be, and then that extends into an external membership marketing program as well. I'll also certainly evaluate the membership model, and working on evaluating what real estate market opportunities there are. I have a meeting set up with area realtors, a couple of area realtors next week. I've already met with a couple this week and had conversations and dialogues and emails and things like that, because market sustainability is of critical importance here at Belfair. As we work toward the future, Ken Lee and what he's doing on the golf course is of critical importance. I'm afraid that Ken and I have started out on with a very good relationship, but I'm afraid we may go toe-to-toe, and our relationship may be tested tomorrow as my Tar Heels meet his Tigers. So I'm not quite sure how we'll get along after tomorrow, but today we've got a great relationship, and we're working toward completing the Learning Center project, obviously, continuing to maintain and improve the course quality. As Ken said, the tees are of critical importance as we move forward into 2016, replacing the grasses on the west course tees, and then in 2017, the east course. And then these bunkers, Ken is replacing 4 bunkers, and we had really projected this to be 2016 project, but he's already on top of it and going to replace 2 bunkers on the east, 2 bunkers on the west, on two holes, 1 on each course. Obviously, using the Better Billy bunker method. Say that 3 times real fast. Because what Ken told you earlier is the truth. What he's doing now is not a sustainable practice. We cannot continue to spend the kind of money that he's spending now to maintain the bunkers. So this is just one example of how the staff is continually looking for ways of sustainable future for the various amenities. Tennis, obviously we need to evaluate the current programming and think of ways that we can improve tennis. Tennis is growing in most clubs around the country, most private clubs around the country, and so I will certainly want to take a very close analysis and take an evaluation of the tennis program here and look for ways to increase participation. I recognize and realize fully that Belfair is a golf-centric club and will always be a golf-centric club, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't improve the programming for the non-golfer member as well. Food and beverage is something that Rick spent a lot of time talking about, but first and foremost, we want to continue to improve and enhance the offerings of our food and beverage department relative to the current industry trends, and especially as it relates to healthy menu options. Chef Bruce and I sat down this past week and we talked extensively about his philosophies on purchasing products, and Chef Bruce has an amazing ability to create, and he has an amazing commitment to what he's doing here, using as many local products and ingredients as he possibly can. But we need to communicate some of the wonderful things that he's doing to you as a membership. We obviously want to increase the variety in events. You've had some wonderful events, and we want to continue to increase the value there. And as Rick said, food and beverage is an amenity in the club business, but we want to make sure it is running and operating as efficiently and as effectively as it possibly can be, and taking a good evaluation of what those events we need to pursue are, and taking a close evaluation of are there opportunities, as Rick said, whether it's wedding business or member parties or small events, and those are things that I will evaluate over the coming weeks and months. And we obviously want to always focus on improving overall service levels and operating efficiency, as I said. So in summary, I just want to go back to the first 4 points that I made and what I plan to do in the coming weeks and months. We're going to be focusing on attention to detail in every area. We're going to be focusing on enhancing membership value. We're going to be observing. We're going to be listening to you, the membership. We're going to be benchmarking against the competitors and nationally against what other communities like Belfair are doing, the best clubs in the country, because that's what I believe Belfair is and can continue to be, the best club in the country, best club in the Low Country, strategically positioning Belfair for the future. Thank you very much. And I can't do this alone. And so that's why we have a wonderful group of people who are willing to serve on our 2016 committees. These lists will be emailed out to you later today by Kelsey. And these names are all very important names for the future of Belfair. So thank you for your willingness to serve on the Architectural Review Board, the Finance Committee, the Greens and Grounds Committee, the Conflict Resolution Committee, the Fitness and Sports Committee, the House Committee, the Golf Committee, the Non-Property Owners Committee, the Tennis Committee, and then the special committees, the Nomination Process Committee, the Belfair Charitable Fund Committee, and the Course Rejuvenation Ad Hoc Committee. So thank you for your willingness to serve on those committees. And now I would like to take any questions that there may be from the floor. Yes, sir. Millie's going to bring a microphone back.
We discussed wedge salads. I'm Ray Farmeyer. The attention to detail, you've got a big agenda, and we need to all support the efforts of everyone here, so it's not you, it's everybody. Number two, there's been very little mention of the sinkhole issue. You said it's kind of go on. Well, you weren't here when we had a huge mountain out there, and now it's gotten smaller and fixed again. So I think we need a little more information on that, because that's a big expense to continue to deal with that. If it's of the magnitude we've experienced in the past. No mention's been made of the transition, I guess you call it, in the men's locker room. I know why they had to consolidate it, that made a lot of sense, but there's a great need for a lot of detail, attention to detail in the men's locker area, and I'm not talking about the sitting area, or where the TVs are, but the sitting area. So I think we'd like to know a little bit more about what the plans are there, and I think there's an opportunities to make it better. But I know for one, I can't get my security portion of my locker for some reason. There's something going on there. The lighting is poor, and the brass plates are missing on a lot of lockers. So again, these are not big issues, but if you talk about attention to detail, this is the sort of thing that someone needs to address. Thank you.
I appreciate that comment. First, I will say on the first point you made, we certainly are going to be plan to be focused on every detail around. And I've noticed many of the same things that you mentioned, whether it's the brass plates or whether it's the lighting. Those are things that they will not be fixed overnight. They didn't occur overnight. They will not be fixed overnight. It is going to take some time as I work through the management staff to establish a punch list, and frankly some of those things we'll work through a committee too, in terms of establishing a prioritization of what those punch list items are. Like I said, it's not possible, first of all, to bring in as many people as we would need to fix all of those punch list items. I can make lists faster than we have staff to fix those as I walk through the buildings, but I do appreciate that comment, and I do appreciate the willingness to encourage everyone to be attentive to those details. On the sinkhole issue, it is a huge unknown factor. There are a number of different places around the community where those sinkholes have been repaired. There are areas that Dan is currently testing, and I may ask him to speak a little more to that, or one of the board members if you prefer, because I am coming up to speed very quickly as it relates to those. There are places that can be tested, and there are other places that cannot be tested, and so there is a great unknown. I cannot accurately predict, nor do I believe that anyone can completely predict what might happen, but we do have to set aside a certain amount of capital funds every year just in case. We certainly can't predict accurately what may happen, is my understanding at this point. And if anyone would like to add to that.
I was going to suggest maybe Rick, from a financial standpoint.
Sure, Rick, if you want to speak to that in just a second.
Concerning reserves.
I think that Several years ago, we had a favorable lawsuit where we had some money. That money has been set aside. It is that money that we're using for these sinkholes. Now, going forward, every single year of our long-term capital plan has money set aside for the unknowns, for the what-ifs. And again, I think if, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that there's probably, we have repaired a quarter of the community. And to disturb the rest of those pipes would not be a good idea, because a lot of times some of those pipes are being held up by the sediment that's actually in there. So to go and camera them might be, unfortunately, asking for it. So we are going to deal with them as they come about, but we think that we have an adequate amount of money set aside each year for that. I think over the next 10 years, it's about $1.5 million, just for what-ifs.
Rick, I might add just a comment, if you'll allow me to. Clearly, we have 8 miles of underground storm drain in the community, and we're approaching close to probably 35 to 40% of that having been rehabilitated over the last 7 or 8 years. It's important to understand that the problem that we just existed or had on number 1 East Fairway was not a reoccurrence of the original big dig that occurred back in 2007. So what did occur this time was unrelated to that first repair, and we have gone in on a proactive basis to not only repair the sinkholes that were created, but we went outside and around all the lateral fill areas that come in from Bamberg Drive back into that main line, all the way down from Edisto, all the way down to the mid-fairway, and of course across the fairway through the Big Dig area and back into the Golf Learning Center. The next repair is really scheduled, we're going to try this week, hopefully the rain stays out, to fix the sinkhole over on number 9. I know that we've been pumping that pond down for about 6 or 8 weeks at this point, so hopefully we're going to do a little different repair on that, and hopefully in the next week or 2 we should be out of the woods. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Dan told me just before he came into this meeting, this was his 17th annual meeting, so congratulations on that, Dan. And I responded to him by saying, I hope this is my first of many, many, maybe 17 to come. So thank you so much. Any other questions? Seeing none and hearing none, I will turn this back over to Mrs. Renshaw. Thank you, Mrs.
Well, before I close, I would like to provide you certainly with an update on the voting results from the covenant and bylaw changes, as well as your 2016 board election results. Earlier this week, by way of email, I had sent out an update, and I'm just going to summarize this because it was really all pretty straightforward in the email. 3 of the 4 amendments passed, 1 did not. The one that did not was the creation of the operating surplus account. It failed to pass by a slim margin, and I trust the board next year will take a closer look at this again. So on behalf of the board, thank you for your interest and support in the 3 amendments that did pass. So I guess the time has come, but I would first like to thank all 4 candidates who ran for a board position this year. And at this time, I am pleased to announce your 2016 Board of Directors. Congratulations to Walter Lowe, Ray Pilch, and Bob Willis. The last slide, and my closing remarks are not long. You know I'm not long-winded, but before I do close on a personal standpoint, there is one matter of importance I'd like to share with you. Earlier this year, the board unanimously approved a new governance policy, which was discussed with David during his interview process and endorsed by all 2016 board nominees. In broad terms, the board is responsible for setting policy and strategic direction, and our GM, David Dew, is responsible and accountable for all operations and results without intervention or micromanagement and interference. What this means is that each and every one of us, as Belfair members, has a role in adapting and adhering to the new governance policy. As mentioned, board members will focus on setting policy and strategy. David is responsible for operational decisions, personnel, and results. Committee members will play an advisory role to the GM and his management team in support of the approved annual goals and objectives. As members, I ask that we all respect and support management, their roles and responsibilities, and their decisions, even if we sometimes may disagree. We hired David Dew to professionally manage our operation, and on behalf of the board, I ask you for your support. It's the short part. In closing, for those of you who golf with me, you know that I have a half-full water glass on the side of my golf ball. It's a reminder to me to stay focused on the positive aspects of golf. Not easy sometimes. That attitude has transcended into my board duties as well, as I've kept my focus on what needs to be accomplished and why it's important for our membership. I have truly enjoyed my last 3 years and would like to say thanks to the entire membership for your support and encouragement, especially this last year. A sincere thanks to those who gave me free advice. It didn't matter if I was on the treadmill, hitting balls, or simply walking the dog, the endless amount of free advice was absolutely astounding. How to shorten board meetings? Where can we cut costs? And my favorite, can the board ban leaf blowers? But on a serious note, I would like to acknowledge the efforts of Karen Litchfield and Mike Finson, who served with me. Mike and Karen served with me the past 3 years. Both Karen and Mike have made significant contributions in many ways and were instrumental in getting us to where we are today. And I'd also like to thank those board members I served with in 2003 and 2014, as well as our 6 returning board members. Together we stayed the course, accomplished a lot. I'm leaving things in capable hands, and I look forward to the continued efforts to achieve Belfair's mission. The meeting is officially adjourned. The bar is open.